Hey, friends, the world is still grinding along in acceptance of the will of God. One amazing thing that the Lord has again showed me and the rest of us is that He cannot be understood by human beings. Can you imagine before this happened, we did not have a single human being who predicted the predicament that was going to rock the world. Everybody just went on with life, and people were praying and going to church, and the choir was on testimony Sunday and all that. And we have prophets, so-called prophets in the world, and we would really have expected that God would whisper to them that uh, in the year 2020, everything, I'm going to stop everything through a global catastrophe, and it's something that would give us pointers towards that, and that was not the case. So everybody in the world was God unawares, and in fact, um, churches were closed. There's no going to church now. What is going on is just online fellowship, and nobody really prepared the church about this. Am I happy? I guess so. I'm happy because God has put us where we belong. We have people who have been moving around acting like they were having breakfast in heaven with God. They speak with a lot of authority, and they lord it over the children of God. And if really they have this access that is more privileged than the rest of us, then why didn't they make this big announcement on CNN or Al Jazeera, or on television channels like the God TV, and we have the Trinity Broadcasting Network, all these big television stations that are broadcasting Christianity 24/7. We didn't hear an announcement from these stations prior to this uh, corona thing. And God, according to me, was putting human beings where they belong. We've had politicians across the world acting like they own the world, they own the people, and through their ideologies, they have acted like they have the solution. And the coronavirus has put politicians where they belong. I know somebody said amen. Thank you. They are hiding in their bunkers. They are hiding in their homes. They are only tweeting like anybody can do. Nobody is actually out there among the politicians doing what they claim to always have a desire to do, because during campaigns and in their daily speeches, you'll hear them talk as if they so care about the poor. Oh, they are so moved by the plight of those who suffer, by the marginalized and the minority, and they will speak the language of support. But looking, for example, at Kenya, the politician has hidden himself or herself, and people are starving in houses without food. 2 days ago, the government tried to give food to people in Nairobi, and people came together and they fought over food. And we had one woman who was pregnant. She was trampled to death with a man. So we had 3 souls being lost in Nairobi, in Kibera. because people are jostling over food. And so the politician is nowhere to be seen. All the pronouncements and all the campaigns that are so loud have been hushed, and they have been brought to the level of humanity to realize that they are just fellow human beings. And it is sweet to me because I'm telling you, those guys make it look like they are moving heaven. They make it look like they can even replace God and provide solutions, but they have been put where they belong. A lot of people are coming up to say they know what God is doing. I think I have been around God for quite some time, to know that I cannot claim to know what God is doing because I really don't. Nobody knows what God is doing. But for sure, um, we will know later. Sometimes things happen and you don't know what is going on, and you look foolish when you rushed into making conclusions about what you think is happening. Nobody knows what is happening, and nobody knows what God is up to. But what I know is that God has boxed us into our little boxes, and He has put us back home with our families, and it has happened. And even a blind man, even a deaf, somebody who doesn't reason very well, they now know that they have been put back home. And that is what God has done. I was reading the Bible and came across this guy called Joshua, and he says, "And for me and my house, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." And there is a message I think that we should have received already. We don't have to wait until much later. And the information is that we have been united. We have been reunited with our loved ones. God has brought us together into union with our loved ones, with our children, with our grandchildren, with our spouses. We are now in the home with them. And there is an expectation, even with that. God is speaking something about family that we should get very loud and clear. And I hope we will. I hope we will understand the message that God is giving us about family, because family is basic, and the family is a very important unit in the eyes of God. He is behind the family setup. And so now you have your family there. I don't know what you're doing with your family, what influence you're having. Imagine there's no going to church. The church has been returned back home. Church in the house. Who is the pastor in the home? Who is bishop? Who is the choir leader? Who is getting tithes? Where are you taking your offerings? Because church is now back home. Where are you tithing? Those are questions we should ask ourselves as we remain home. Because God is in the details. He's still teaching us stuff. And while we are home, He's teaching us stuff. There is starvation here. And so families are just there, and they are learning to survive together. And in some places where there is no starvation, you're all there. You're learning to survive together. So just wanted to share that for us to ponder and allow the Lord to speak to us about these things.